My name is Nipaaaa. My student ID MB MB01260005. I am talking about the first slide, the impact of leadership style on employee performance. Good morning, afternoon. Good morning, afternoon. My presentation is titled The Impact of Leadership Style on Employee Performance. Leadership is one of the most important factors in whether an organization succeeds because it shapes how motivated, productive, and committed employees are in this research. I look at four leadership styles: transformational, transactional, democratic, and autocratic, and review existing academic literature to see which on actually improve employee performance. My supervisor for this study was Dr. Rashid Yes Danifard. Next slide. Why leadership style matters. Why leadership style matters. How to expand this slide. And this slide covers why the topic matters and what the study set out to do. On the left are my four research objectives. First, to examine the relationship between leadership style and employee performance. Second, to identify the major leadership style used in organization today. Third, to evaluate how to transformational, transactional, democratic, and autocratic leadership is affect performance. And fourth, to recommend practice organization can adopt. On the right are the research portion that guide the study. Essentially, the same four objective phrase and question I tried to answer through the literature. You can summarize this slide by saying this study asks which leadership style helps employee perform best and what organization should do about it. Next slide, number of three, research method. How to explain this slide? This slide explain this research method. I used a qualitative research design based on secondary data, meaning I review existing academic literature rather than serving employee myself. Step 1. I source materials from pre-reviewed journals and academic database like Google Scholar, Scopus, Scopus, Emerald, Insight, Springer Link, and Science Direct. Step 2. I pro I prioritize studies from the last 10 years, but also include classic leadership theories like Bayes and Barnes Forum theoretical guiding. Step 3. I used thematic analysis, grouping similar finding across studies into theme for is leadership style. Step 4. It's important to acknowledge the limitation. since this relies on other people's data, my finding depend on the quality of the literature available, and I had no control over how that original data was collected. Next, slide number of four leadership style compared. How to explain this slide? This slide gives a quick overview of the four leadership style. Before I show the finding transformational leaders inspire employee with a shared vision, encourage innovation and support their growth. This is the style and the literature found most effective. Democratic leaders involve employee in decision making, which builds trust and test work, teamwork. Through it can slow decision and emergencies. Transactional leaders rely on clear rules, reward. And monitoring this works well. In structure environment like banking or manufacturing, but can limit creativity, automatic autocratic leaders, centralized authority with little employee input, useful in emergencies, but harmful to moral. And infusion if used long term, walk through and quality dips tension. Finding the next slide, slide number of 5. K, finding overall effectiveness. How to explain this? This chart summarize the core finding of the whole study. I average how each leadership styles scores across the performance. Indicators report in the literature: motivation, satisfaction, productivity, and commitment, innovation, and teamwork. On a row of 1 to 5 scale, transformation leadership come of the highest 4.5. Plot closely by democratic leadership at 4.3. Transactional leadership sits in the middle, at 3.3. Good for productivity and efficiency, but weaker on innovation. Automatic leadership scores lowest at 2.0, mainly because it's constantly reduce motivation, satisfaction, and creativity when used over the long term. The takeaway to emphasize employee-centered style that involve and inspire people. Transformational and democratic outperform control-based styles. Next slide, number of 6. Conclusion and recommendation. To close, the key message is that no single leadership style works to every situation. Effective leaders adapt, and the strongest result come from combining transformational vision with some transactional structure. I'd recommend organization act on 4 fronts: invest and continuous leadership, development, and organization act On forefront invest continuous leadership and commit clear vision and activity listen to training build leaders who communicate a clear vision and activity listen to employ develop emotional intelligence to so leaders support employee well-being employing well-being and handle conflict well and use succession planning to identify and mentor future leaders early through HR pipeline. It by noting this study use secondary data, so future research could test this finding directly with survey. And thank you so much.